Welcome to Pool by Design Day 5, brought to you by Diego and Potencia Ventus. So thank you very much, Potencia, for making this thing possible. Today we're going to talk about anti-fragile discovery. But first, a quick recap. The last day we talked about the conventional buyer journey versus Pool by Design, where instead of trying to convince the world that they have a problem and then that we have the perfect solution, and if they don't like it, we will force them to like it, we can look for people that are painfully aware that they have a problem, painfully aware that there is no solution that is working for them. So we have a desperate CI, and we will build what they need. So we don't need to persuade them to try, we just need to meet them. But of course, the adoption journey is complicated. So we will help them adopt the product and we will get pulled. Now, how do we do this? 3 parts. First, we need to discover what are these CIs. Then select one, and then we have to align the angle, align the marketing so they can find us, and align any potential problem blocker that they can be in the funnel. So today, we are going to focus on the first step, discover. But what is what we want to discover? What are the implications of that? And how do we do this thing? So what we want to discover is the desperate CI, that person that something changed that rendered the old solution useless, so they have an inability, and they try the default solutions, but they don't work. But it's not only one, it's all of them. It's easy to build something that, yeah, it's better than Zoom. Yeah, this thing is cheaper. Yeah, okay, but then they don't like Zoom, but they can use Google Chat. So how do we build something? How do we find somebody for whom nothing works? Because remember, like it or not, we have a new company that is unknown and is untrusted. They will try all of these things first, and if they work, they will never get to us. So pretty much by design, this type of people is a combination of context that is really hard to find because none of them have to work. But as Albert maybe or maybe not said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 about the solution. And that is what we are going to do today. So where do these desperate CIs come from? Like, what's going on here? We have people that have a task. They have a solution that is one of the main known solutions, a default solution, and is working for them. So they are okay. The fact that so many people is using just a bunch of solutions creates something in the market. Believe that that solution is the best to do the task. So when you have somebody that is switching, both because they were okay until they were not, or because they just have the task right now, they will learn about these beliefs and they will choose the solution, the default first. And it's only when the default doesn't work that they are desperate. Now, on the other hand, there are always new technologies and founders coming up with new ideas, new ways to do a task. These are the angles. So they create startups like ours and a lot of other like ours, maybe using the new technology, maybe using the new method, maybe different methods. And it's these desperate CIs that we look into them. Now, these startups are kind of creating a new belief about the way to do the task. It's like, there is a better way, there's a different way. But it's only when this starts to get like bigger and bigger and getting more traction that you start getting a new trend. And when this trend gets strong, starts to clash with the old way of doing things. And that gets these guys, the OKCIs, really, really stressed because they see, oh, maybe I'm doing it the old way, but there's a much better way. So they start switching the default solutions, also see the new trend. And it's like, oh, maybe we have to do something. We have to change or we are going to become obsolete. And of course, as the new trend grows, more and more startups will try that too. While the ones that started the trend now suddenly, because all this movement, becomes a default solution. And all of that, knowing that there are different people with different tasks and different contexts that can end up using this solution. So this whole thing is 3D. Now, is this clear? Yeah, I hope no, because that is the point. It's not clear, it's messy, it's complex. What we are looking at here is the market as a complex adaptive system. Complex as in you have a lot of elements, people inside these boxes or companies, that have dependencies with each other. Adaptive as in they keep moving, as you see with the arrows, they keep moving from one box to the other. So they have dependencies. And because of that, when one moves, the rest starts to move. They start to realign. Why? Because each player in the system is moving in order to achieve their own goal. The people, they want to get the task done, and they will want the accepted solution. And once a new trend happens, then the accepted solutions are new solutions. So new defaults come, and they move to them too. The companies want to keep making money, and they will keep chasing like these changes in the market. So everyone is moving here. And that creates something, emergent behavior. That is one of the key characteristics of a complex adaptive system. What is that? This is because everyone is moving and realigning here, there is some kind of seemingly random, completely unexpected, and usually kind of weird from an outside observer behavior that is going on, and we don't know why. So we have the Despaid CI that we know is a hard combination to find, but we have to find it in a complex changing environment where there is this emerging behavior that is unexpected and seemingly random. So how do we deal with this situation? Like, how do we find something there? Thankfully, somebody invented the solution for us. That is called anti-fragility. This is a term coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, explaining the black swan, but everyone was obsessed with the swan and not with the anti-fragility, so he created another book to make his point clear. And what is that? That there are things that are fragile. Fragile as in harmed by randomness. Fragile as an ant that doesn't like at all a random lion jumping around her. It's like, that's not funny. You have things that are robust, like an elephant. An elephant is not affected by that random lion. He's looking at the lion like, yeah, I know that you're not going to do anything, so whatever, just keep jumping around. But we believe that robust is the opposite of fragile. But if fragile is harmed by randomness, the opposite should be something that is improved by randomness. And what is that? That is a hydra. That if the lion decides to chop one head, two will grow instead. So the hydra is better. Like, okay, Diego, cute. And that for startups without legendary creatures? Sure. We have the system. And in the system, there is emergent behavior, there is randomness, there are things that are happening. Now, from our point of view here as a company, there are two sources of randomness that we can embrace to become stronger, to be a hydra. What is that? That is people that we are targeting, that we are expecting that could be our users, but they decided to use the product in an unexpected way, or people that we're not even expecting that they could use our product doing something with it. Or to simplify, people using our product for an expected task, or unexpected people using our product. So let's see two examples. Unexpected task. So we have as a headcount that is talking about how they build like a product for a company to get feedback from the users. The idea is that the user records a short video while he's using the product and sends that to the company. Very handy. They gave the product to 10 companies to do a beta. And he was talking with them, like, so how do you use this? What are you missing? What do you like? What you don't? He's like, look, I ended up using it a lot to record videos of myself and send that to the team. Sahed was like, you're doing it wrong. It's the user that records the video and sends that to the team, not you recording videos and send that to the team. But they said, look, this is an interesting insight. And it seemed that people were more interested in using Redacted for dramatic purposes as a communication tool. So once they realized that, they went for it. And they stripped out everything that was not what they were using, short videos as a communication tool, and launched that on Product Hunt. And they got 3,000 people signing up in the same day. That is 2,990 more users than they had in the last 9 months that they only had this 10 in the beta. That is pull. The company Loom, the original task, get feedback from users. The completely unexpected task, team communication through short videos. This is an angle. It's not team communication using email or using chat or using voice notes. Short videos. Yeah, but it's something that they didn't realize at the beginning. Something that they kind of discovered. It was unexpected. Did it work? Yeah, not bad. The other example, unexpected CIs. So Justin TV was a platform created by Justin, Emmett, Michael, and Kyle for people to live stream their hobbies. This was created at a time when there were no live stream services, so it was impossible to do that. They were the first ones. And the idea is that they were targeting a CI that is like, okay, YouTube can be boring, you don't know what else to watch, but you are still bored. You can come here to see something completely different. It's life, it's people doing their hobbies, it's life happening. They had a first unexpected group of people using it. Some people decided to post their movies, series, sport events. So, yeah, that was great. All illegal content. Now, it turns out that there is a pretty massive CI that wants to watch something without having to pay for it. So they grew a lot. The number of lawyers chasing them also grew a lot. So they knew that they had to do something about it. Now, Emmett played video games. And he saw that some people were streaming video games. It's like, sure, whatever. But some of the people were watching people playing video games. It's like, wait, I like to play the game. I don't want to see my friend playing the game. I want the controller and he watches me playing the game. So that didn't make any sense when you look from afar. But they try to understand what is going on here. Well, what they realize is that the first game that was getting out of traction was StarCraft. That is a strategy game, and it's a really hard game. What they realize is that it's really, really useful for a player to see a professional playing StarCraft. And it's absolutely thrilling to see two professionals on a tournament doing things that you could not do with your fingers even if you train for like 1,000 years. So that was great. And they decided, okay, why don't we just take Justin and just make it all about video games? And they called it Twitch. That kept bringing more unexpected CIs because suddenly there were people watching streamers playing things that were not complex strategy games. Just story games, any kind of game. But what they realized is that a lot of people love to be in the community and in the chat and having fun with the streamer, like enjoying the experience together. Did it work? Yeah, not bad. So let's recap on what is going on here. So we know that we are at the beginning of our journey. We have a lot of stress about are we going the right direction or not. What we said is the system is moving. We are a really small part of it. There are much bigger forces around, which means maybe we picked a task and a CI, like what we do and for whom, that has a cap defined by the market or the market today. And there is not a lot that we can do with that. Like, it can be a great product that is useful for a small group of people, but the market doesn't want to go farther than that. What we are also saying is that sometimes there is this weird combinations, really hard to find, byproduct of emergent behavior. A thing that doesn't make any sense on paper. You will not come up with the idea of, I'm going to create a platform for people to stream video games, because that doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense when you see it working. It's like, oh, but never before. Where maybe this is telling us the market now wants this thing. Like, there is like the right combination here, so the pool is massive. So maybe, what if there is this unexpected case that we didn't look at before that is already using our product in a completely random way, but that can be our cue to move there and get much bigger growth than what we have. As in, right now, the strategy to get to product market fit is a fragile strategy, where, as we mentioned on day one, you launch something, you get no traction, it's like, it's the product. So you try again, and you try again. But when you get some traction, it's like, okay, we have it. Then you lock in, and we go for, now we have to optimize this thing, add more features, optimize the funnel. This is it. It's fragile because it doesn't like randomness. If the market does his thing and doesn't align with us, that's it. On the other hand, we can follow an anti-fragile strategy where, yes, we got some traction and that is great, but we acknowledge that there can be a much bigger pool and it's right in front of us. We just have to look at it. Now, a strategy happens when you make decisions. It's not something that you put on paper. No, it's something that you act on. So the question is, when you see something like this is not how it was supposed to be, or people doing like the unexpected people doing unexpected things, maybe a fragile strategy will be, we ignore them. It's like, nah. Yeah, we just have this bunch of gamers there doing weird things, but that's an edge case. Our vision is all about like people streaming their lives and hobbies and all this illegal content that we don't know what to do with that. An anti-fragile strategy, when sees that, embraces it. It's like, okay, as Sahed said, we realized that they prefer different, so we gave them different. And it worked because that was what the market wanted at that time. And they used the product to spot that. But they were also bold to go there. Now, when you face this, what are you going to do? Are you just going to say, yeah, not our vision, this is not who we are, what we are, and you keep doing your thing? And because the market doesn't seem to pull that right now, you will have to push a lot just to grow a little bit. Or are you going to embrace that random case and it's like, okay, let's go wherever it takes us? Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying they are completely different and they have a much deeper implication here. It's perfectly okay to chase your vision with all your heart and go for it, acknowledging that your company will grow as far as the market allows you to do that. And you will push a lot It will be painful. And that is okay. Or you can be more flexible and go for other things. But if you decided to take money from VCs, you're playing the VC game, and the VC game wants this. If you accepted money from investors, and then when you see this case, you dismiss it, no, this is not who we are, then the conflict is weeks away. Because the VCs will see these different CI doing really interesting things, behaving in a different way, that they are pulling it harder, but will need you to move your product towards a different direction, and you don't do that. So you have to be coherent with yourself. It's perfectly okay to follow this path, but then don't play the VC game. And if you play it, then follow the rules. But I'm also not saying let's go crazy with this, right? I'm saying we have to be bold. Bold as in we're gonna keep the angle, align the rest. Like initial product was Justin, they realized something different, and they reskinned, they removed everything that was not for gamers. So that is, they had an unexpected angle fit, an easy way to stream video games that everyone can watch, and there was nothing like that at the time. Just needed some tweaking. The categories, color, the name, like align it. That's it. I'm not saying, hey, we realize that people like to learn deeper about strategy games and become pros. So you know what? We're gonna create a magazine that has like videos and guides and no. This is not the angle that you find fit with. This is something else that has different default solutions and that already existed at the time. And now, Twitch was the perfect complement to that. But sometimes it's like, no, let's do this crazy pivot. No. I'm talking about find the angle fit and you align with that. Also, I'm not saying you find that out. It's like, okay, it seems like gamers are behaving a completely different way. Maybe we want to go for that. Yes, but you are making a strategic bet. You are embracing anti-fragility and you will explore what is there. So Justin and Twitch were running in parallel for quite some time. So Justin became massive really quick. I mean, obviously. Then started to lose traction. They realized that, found this group, spin it off, and started growing. They were like testing the bet. When do you make the call of, okay, this seems the right bet? When it's obvious. When there is no decision to make, it's like, yeah, of course, like turn it off. For Loom was much easier because they were from, they spent 9 months with no pool of any kind, and suddenly they saw the light. So yeah, it became obvious much faster. So it's not about time, it's about obvious. Now, let's look a bit deeper into this. So we are talking about keep the angle. And we are talking about like these things exist in your funnel. And we talk about how Loom had the product research thing and the short videos. People just wanted the short videos. And Twitch had like all the hobbies in the world, but people just wanted video games. Yeah. And Instagram was a social network. People didn't want the social network. They were pulling the filters that you could use in your profile photo in that social network. Segment was an analytics tool that connected a lot of different sources. Nobody wanted the different graphs, the different reports. Nobody wanted the analytics thing. They just wanted the code that connected the sources. That became Segment. Pinterest was an e-commerce app where you could select favorites, things that you liked, and pin them. Nobody wanted to buy there, but everyone wanted to pin. Slack was a video game that nobody wanted. And while building it, what they did is They build their own internal communication tool to share some quick messages there. And the team loved that. And friends of the teams, like all the companies, also loved that too. And nobody wanted the game. Look at how all of them had that there. They had that unexpected case. The pool was there. But also, most of them only looked at it and embraced it when they were right about to die, when it was the last resort, when it's like, okay, we don't know what else to do. This is not going anywhere. Slack is like, okay, we are stopping this game. What do we do next? And then is when they looked into, okay, what people is using? So you can call this more like pull by chance. It was kind of forced by this, nothing is working, let's look into it. What I'm saying is that we can get that by design. We can have a process so we don't have to end until we just have 1 month of runway and then we die. And then it's a last Hail Mary, and maybe you make it, or maybe you are one of the other 90 segments that nobody will ever know because they never made it. And what is this process? Well, something that you already did, that is launch a product based on something that made a lot of sense to you. And maybe it got a lot of traction and it's growing like crazy. And then you will not be watching this video. So we have to keep looking for pull. Some people is loving your product right now, but maybe it's loving it in a different way than what you expected. Or maybe it's different people that what you expected. We need to understand why they loved it. Who are these people? Why they ended up here? So we can chase that pull. We can align the product with them and find more people like them. And he's like, but Diego, but does this mean that I have to change everything or like spot this thing? It's like, no. It's all about this step. You look for a strong pull, whatever shape it takes. Facebook launched and had pull as is. Mark didn't have to change anything for a really long time. Then they added more things. At the beginning, nothing. Airbnb launched as an airbed and breakfast. So of course it has to be in an apartment where there is somebody living, and then you let somebody sleep in an airbed so you can prepare him the breakfast. And that's what the founders were saying. But they started seeing pull somewhere else. It's like, can I rent my whole apartment? And they were like, and who is going to prepare the breakfast? But they acknowledge the pull. It's like, okay. And this is not like a growth hack or something. No, they had to change their self-image, what we are, the name of the company. For them, it was a bed and breakfast, and now suddenly is full apartment and you make your breakfast. So it's not an easy change, but they saw the pull there and they went for it. But the product was pretty much the same. It's just from share apartments to full apartments. Twitch, yeah, it's a reskinned Justin TV, but you saw it's just like a new UX, a new look and feel. It was pretty much the same back end. And Slack, completely different thing. So you can go from you don't have to change anything at all to you have to change the whole thing completely. It depends on wherever that pool is taking you. Now, notice something. This, you launch, get some traction, and that traction never ends. That is the exception, not the rule. Most, as in almost every company that succeeded, had changes, had pivots. But the default strategy, the rule, is exactly the opposite. We get some traction, we lock in. We see some randomness, like that's not who we are. We keep locking with that because we believe the next growth hack, the next feature, the next something, the next small tweak is going to make it work because this first traction proves that. This first traction is just proving that there is some people and you build something for them, but maybe the market doesn't want that. And maybe you have a much bigger pool right in front of you and you are ignoring it. Or you can look at it and acknowledge that it's there. And when you see the edge case, you embrace it, which maybe means that we have to change what we are from shared apartments to full apartments, from all hobbies to video games, from a game to a communication platform. And that is okay. Maybe the market is not ready for the product as is right now. And it's okay. So now we can go back. And this thing, yeah, we did it right. So remember, hard combination in a complex environment, it will never make sense on paper, with a new rule. That is, follow the pool wherever it takes you, but keeping the angle. Let's not go super crazy. And all of that is anti-fragile discovery. A method to discover desperate CIs, because if they are going and testing a startup, they are desperate by definition, but that they are pulling your product like crazy, so you can align with them wherever it takes you. So how do we do this? First thing is we have to look outside our little box. We are looking at really weird things that doesn't make any sense. If you are Twitch, you saw the graph, 100 million monthly active users, and you see a fraction, like 4 or 5 million of them, doing the video game thing, you will think, this doesn't make any sense, this is crazy, So we have to be ready to accept something completely different, surprising, that doesn't make any sense. But we have one question that is, okay, how do I recognize pull when I see it? And for that, we need something that increases like contrast so we can see better. And the thing is contrast. So let's do this experiment. I'm looking for a box that is the perfect box so you can read it, the text, and you can see it in the background. And I came up with this. Beautiful, right? So what do you think? Yeah, I don't know. Sure, looks okay, but I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know if there is something better or worse. Okay. I was also like doing a lot of A/B tests and experimenting and optimizing this thing, and I came up with this. And I promise you, this color is different than this color. It was super optimized. Like, it looks the same to me. Okay, what about this? Okay, yeah, that's obviously worse. And about this? Well, that is obviously different. So, learnings exist on the extremes, where we have a continuum, and now we know that there is something called too bright and something that is called too dark. And maybe we can say the optimal point is here. And if we say that, we are missing the whole point, because it's not about exploring the extremes to see what is better or worse. When we look at this, what is happening is that we are learning about the thing itself. When we look at this, now we are learning about contrast versus the background and versus the letters. Interactions of colors. These letters that look like they vibrate because of the low contrast also are the same color as these ones. So the color surrounding it can change the color of the thing. Now we are learning things about color. And on the other end, we learn how you can read this much better than here, but also you don't see the box. So now you start understanding like a hierarchy of things. You have the text, you have the box, you have the background, and you have the full composition. So it's exploring the extremes to discover why something is better or worse, to understand the different elements, the different dimensions of that. And remember, we are looking for this complex profile, the desperate CI that has task, context, and solution. How do we know what context is meaningful is key or what context is not. This is going to help us achieve that. So where do we learn by contrast? Inside our funnel, because that is probably the place where right now that great opportunity is hiding. Remember Twitch. They had this group of people here loving it. And they had this group of people here that they had a problem at integrating, and is free copyrighted content. I mean, yeah, but it's live stream. It's not YouTube. It's not recorded. It's not on demand. So when you come to the website, maybe that movie is 10 minutes in, or you depend on the streamer to put the next chapter of the series or not. So it's not like a great experience. It was good for like sport events, for example. Okay, everyone is watching at the same time. But apart from that, But they would not have noticed how good these guys are if it's not because of the contrast. What they saw here is great retention, lots of time on site, lots of organic growth. They were not promoting the website thing, and that kept growing and growing and growing. And it's this contrast that saw them, okay, there is something special here. So we are going to do the same. We are going to look at these people and we are going to compare them with these people. Eventually, we can also compare them with this. But people that sign up and use it just a little bit, yeah, the amount of randomness here is going to be massive. So let's go step by step. Now, maybe we still don't see a lot. So we need to amplify the signal. How? There are multiple methods to do that, but one of them that we're going to see now is outside the funnel. These visits are going to be as random or as different as our acquisition is. And if our acquisition is based on ultra targeted, super narrow campaigns, then we have fragile acquisition. Everyone that is coming is kind of similar, and they have to really love what they are facing, and there is no chance for us to be anti-fragile there. If we want to be anti-fragile, we can go for really broad campaigns. They will be anti-fragile acquisition. But with broad, I don't mean pick that Google keyword and make it from exa to broad, that's it. No. With broad, I mean broad. Like, where can I find a random group of people looking for a new solution? Look at what Loom did. Broad hunt. You can't find something much more random than that. Like a ton of people there looking for stuff that like to discover things. Like, here you have. That is anti-fragile acquisition. So you do anti-fragile acquisition when you are choosing channels based on the anti-fragility of the channel, the amount of randomness that you're going to bring, not based on performance. So Google, really fragile. Instagram, much more fragile because you're just targeting people that X, but there will be a mix there, so it's a bit better. Broad hunt, way more anti-fragile. You go to a conference, to demo day, to wherever, any random gathering of people, super anti-fragile. You do a crazy stunt and you are featured on main media, on TV, ultra anti-fragile. Where do we start here? Okay, we will start with the first group, not with the further group, not with this. Why is that? Well, it's a property of data. For data to make sense to us, we have to see patterns. We give it meaning, and that becomes information. If you get too much data, that is impossible, that is too different. So it's impossible to find patterns there, it becomes noise. So we have to go step by step. Don't go crazy and it's like, oh, let's go to Broad Hunt right now and start talking with people that sign up, because you're not gonna see shit there. Instead, let's start here. This is what Twitch did. So that can be enough. And if it is not enough, then we can turn up the volume and go here. And if it's not enough, turn it here. Remember, we are looking for that pool, that serious, strong pull that is happening. How do we do that? Next day. Why? We need to define who are these people. How do we talk with them? Like the ones in the box here and the ones in the box here. What do we ask them? How do we process that data so it becomes information? How do we create patterns out of that? But there is also another reason. Before we go there and we start seeing things, you have to reflect on something. Do you want to be an ant and grind your way, chasing your vision? Or do you want to be a hydra? Thank you very much. Great. Challenge. Think about it. We can complement the challenge with maybe you saw an unexpected case already. And maybe you noticed that they were really good. And maybe you dismiss it. Maybe you saw it. You just have to believe. Hey, how was the session? You can show your pool liking it, or if you have any doubt, leave a comment below and I will make sure that it's replied. Thank you very much.